Well, Christmas is in the air, Paul. I think we're almost just a little over 6 weeks out, or around 6 weeks out. You're going to put up Christmas lights today after we're finished recording.
I am, yes. As you know, I'm a big proponent of putting up the Christmas lights, getting into the festive spirit. And
well, we know that from last year's episode.
Well, yeah, I was just going to say that our listeners, if their memories are that good, they will remember. I guess our episode that we recorded last December, we talked about Christmas lights, and I think one of my comments was, why are people not, sort of highlighting those individuals that don't get into the Christmas spirit? Those houses that have no Christmas decorations up whatsoever, no effort has been put into it.
Right, the Jewish and the Muslim people that don't celebrate, they should put up Christmas lights just for our benefit.
Yes. Well, obviously, yes, there is going to be some people that just don't celebrate Christmas, but certainly in my area, there's not, to my knowledge, I don't think there's that many people that would not be celebrating.
Really? That's a big assumption.
Well, maybe it is. However, I think the majority, let's just say there's a lot of homes that probably should be putting up Christmas lights that don't make the effort. I'm not expecting every single house
putting up Christmas lights.
Well,
okay.
I think they should. We talked about it around this time last year. It's a sense of community. It's a sense of just being in the festive spirit. And especially with everything that's gone on with COVID, I think it's a good thing to kind of embrace and get into.
But what if you don't celebrate Christmas, and you see Christmas as a way to get into some sort of a spirit, but some people don't see Christmas that way?
Well, in terms of your comments about certain ethnicities that may or may not celebrate Christmas, my observations is that, even different cultures, I have seen people at least put up Christmas lights. You may not necessarily celebrate Christmas, but I don't see any reason why they shouldn't be putting up Christmas lights, because there's a lot of people that do. As I said, it's just a sense of the festiveness of the Christmas season.
But for who?
For everyone. For you.
You care about
but
this.
Why are you so against people putting up Christmas lights?
I'm not against it. I'm just giving the benefit. That Stephen Covey has one of his 7 habits is seek first to understand, then to be understood.
All I'm saying is that there was a large number of houses last year that did not have Christmas lights up, and that just struck me as being a bit odd.
You know what?
So
we're adding a project.
Up my Christmas lights today.
We have updates. Nice day. Okay. We have updates, by the way, on our projects, but I'm going to give you another project.
Okay.
You are going to approach a home or two in your neighborhood that don't have Christmas lights up. You're going to knock on the door. You're obviously going to have to wait a few weeks for this, like maybe the second week of December. Knock on a door and ask why they don't have Christmas lights up.
Ooh, I don't know about that. You're expecting me to get a punch in the face or something, or a complaint on the Facebook, the community Facebook page?
Yeah, there's this guy that's knocking, going door to door.
Going door to door asking about Christmas decorations and why they're not put up.
Yeah, so you're not accepting this challenge?
I don't think so. No, it's someone. If you decide not to put up Christmas decorations, and yeah, obviously that's your decision to make. It's your home. You can do whatever. But
right.
I just think it's odd, and I just think that those who don't put up the Christmas decorations, unless you have a really good idea, there's no reason why you can't do something. At least.
Okay, so what about Diwali? That was just celebrated a couple weeks ago. Why don't you have any Diwali celebrational stuff on your house? Now, I have a feeling this could go down some controversial pathway here, but let's take a holiday you don't celebrate.
No, we're not. Hairs. Yes, you are. Because Christmas is a universal holiday where everyone celebrates. Everyone gets the day off work. It's such a commercialized event that...
Oh, man, you're throwing a bunch of stuff. Commercialized event. Well, maybe that's exactly the reason people don't want to celebrate it the way you're describing.
But why not have Christmas decorations up? It's nice to look at. It's... No matter how commercialized Christmas gets, one of the nice Christmas traditions is to go around the neighborhood and look at the Christmas lights. I just think it's a nice thing to do. It's a neighborly thing. It's a sense of community. That's all.
You do remember what Christmas...
Don't overthink it, my friend.
But you do remember what Christmas is, the real reason we have the Christmas.
What? And you're talking about the whole, like, the religious aspect of it, or?
Well, isn't that what Christmas is? The reason Christmas...
Yes. Yeah, I'm just... Hey, you're overthinking this.
No, I'm not.
You're overthinking it. I'm just saying it's nice to have
you have
Christmas
turned it into a
decorations
commercialized thing because it was about the birth of Jesus, and now you're saying it's about putting Christmas lights up.
The Christmas lights, my view on the Christmas lights is that it's from a sense of community. It's a means to kind of, come together as a neighborhood, as a community group. Why not have Christmas decorations? Why not spread the cheer? Why? Because people enjoy looking at the Christmas lights. Why not sort of spread that out? A lot of people do. Like up in Durham region, not far from where I am, like North Bowmanville area, there's an area of homes that have a spectacular Christmas light display. It's on Old Scugog Road, and it's a tourist attraction in itself.
Well, like again, commercialized. Does someone have to throw money into a bucket before they drive through?
No, not at all. People just grab a coffee, get in the car, and just drive along this neighborhood area and just looking at the Christmas lights. There's like literally hundreds of cars, and it's a good thing. It brings people together. People enjoy it.
Into their cars, creating dangerous carbon monoxide fumes.
Man, don't be a glass half empty kind of guy. Come on.
All right. Well, I'm going to leave this. I'm going to give you a chance to think about this whole knocking on the door and inquiring thing. Don't say no quite yet.
I will say this. If you don't put up Christmas decorations, I will definitely be knocking on your door.
All right. We got project updates to give. We each had a couple. Mine was about my memory. I'll start with it. So I did contact my doctor. In a previous episode, we discussed that I was concerned about my memory, that I find myself just not as sharp as I used to be. So I had a checkup with my doctor, and I brought this topic up. And so in December, I should be partaking in something called the Montreal Cognitive-Based Assessment, or Montreal Cognitive Assessment. And this is an assessment that they give to people who have to test for memory deficiencies. So they use this for people they suspect could have dementia, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, a whole list of possible, I guess, brain diseases. So I'm going to be taking the assessment. I think it's like 12 minutes or 15 minutes. So that's not scheduled yet because they told me to call them in early December to set it up. It's done by a nurse. And yeah, so that's where I'm at with my memory project.
Okay. That sounds pretty interesting. I've never heard of that before. It sounds, I'd be interested to know. I'm sure everyone would be interested to know what's involved in that.
Well, I can share one quick thing. Because I was interested as well, so I Googled it. And just to give you an example of the types of questions they ask, it would be something like, draw a clock, like an analog clock face that is showing the time 2:40.
Okay.
On it. So then you have to draw that on a piece of paper, how that would look.
Yeah.
And I looked at examples of different memory deficiency levels. So a healthy person can draw it out. And then a person with some signs of it start showing like the numbers are kind of in the wrong spots. And then the worst was like somebody had like 1 to 12 all crammed into the top right corner of the clock face. So it was interesting. Or they get you to recall numbers back to them. Like they'll say, okay, 12, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Can you repeat those back? And then you try to repeat it back.
Okay.
Or they'll give you words to remember. Like they'll say horse, sky, dog, picture. And then you repeat it back. And then they'll ask you like 10 minutes later to repeat those words back to see if you remembered them. So that's kind of the stuff they test for.
So by you doing this test, are you just wanting to do it more for peace of mind, just to make sure there's nothing wrong?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if the test comes back positive, as in, there's no problems or anything, will that sort of put your mind at ease and move on from this? Okay.
Yes, it will. Because the doctor said it could be a diet thing. Could be you need more B12s, or it could be related to that, which I'm doing a blood test, by the way, too, which they'll be able to check that sort of stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, it will give me peace of mind. Because if they tell me everything looks fine, then I can at least look at other things like diet, sleep, things like that. So I'll feel much better after I've done the test. And if it comes back negative, yeah, I'm not sure how I'll react. I guess it's how negative does it come back, and what does it mean? And maybe even the cognitive assessment. Oh, I have no idea. Like, it could come back and say, well, this is showing some signs of issues. Then maybe they still say it could be diet related, or it could be sleep related. I don't know, but we'll find out.
No, you won't know until you find out, until you take the test. So yeah, keep us posted.
I will. So that won't come up for maybe the Christmas episode. We'll have an update, and hopefully it'll be a good news that we can unwrap. And okay, so you have an update on Nav Badger. What's going on now? Badger. Is it something you told me? There's an update. Am I going to be just? Is it like, oh, he still hasn't got back to me, or he told me screw you? Hey, give me some info here. Tell us what Nav had to say.
This is a productive update.
And Nav is the fan, the super fan that we talked about.
Yes, yeah. So yes, for those who may have, let's say if there's any listeners that may have missed that particular episode, we were talking about,
or this is their first episode.
Yeah, that too.
Welcome, listener. By the way, welcome, listeners who have who've joined us perhaps for the first time. But we're going to give a little backstory on Nav very quickly.
Yeah. So Nav Badger is the Raptors Superfan. He's a gentleman who has attended every single Raptors game for the last 25 years or plus, because he's been a fan since the very inception of the team. Anyway, the point being is that, yeah, he's a guy that's gained a lot of media notoriety. He's a very personable guy. He's a well-known businessman. He was featured on TV quite a bit, especially during the Raptors championship run, which was 2 years ago. And yeah, we had talked about, the sports superfans, and Clark, you had provided me with a challenge to reach out to Nav Badger and try to make contact with him, see if there's even any feasibility as to whether or not he would be a guest on our podcast.
Yes, and you went through to his charitable organization, I think, right?
Yeah, so I didn't get any traction through the charitable organization, but I reached out to...
You went down his saw
place
him...
of business, yeah. So he owns and operates 2 Hyundai dealerships out in Mississauga. So I contacted his information that was on the on his website for his dealerships.
Yep.
And I had spoken to one of his assistants, just explaining, a little bit about, we talked about this, what the podcast stands for, some of the topics.
This was live? You had a live person?
Yeah. I talked directly to his assistant, explained our motivation and talked about how we want to hear about his experiences being a sports superfan.
Yeah.
So believe it or not, I actually got a response back directly from Nav that same day. So he called me back. I actually did talk to him.
Oh my goodness. This is awesome. Okay.
Yeah, so it was kind of cool.
Okay, this is much better than he said no through like some corporate, canned boilerplate email response. Okay, you spoke to him.
Yeah. But he actually called me back directly. So yes, I did speak to him.
Okay, wait, I want to know, did you see your phone, the display came up and it had his name on it, or did you know it was him? So it's a Nav Badger. Now, did you clarify how you pronounce his name?
No, I didn't go into that much detail.
Okay, so you saw it on the display. Were you like, holy shit?
Yeah, I'm like,
he's calling me.
Yeah, I was very surprised. It's like, oh my goodness. I honestly, I was not expecting him personally to call me back. I was expecting some assistant or his business manager or something like that.
That's amazing. Okay.
So yeah, he took the time out to give me a call back. So I do have his phone number, by the way, so we could, we could keep calling and harassing him.
All right. Anyway, well, what did he say? Tell me exactly what happened when you pressed, what's the word? The little green button on your phone. What happened?
So when I answered the call, he had asked me questions about our podcast. He wanted to know how many listeners we had. And, that's where I was like, well, we're still working on that.
No. That's where you say, I don't have that kind of information. That's our producer who would have that.
Yeah. Well, okay. Cut to the chase here. The point being is that in order to get him to appear on any kind of, I guess, for any kind of media requests, whether it's a podcast or some kind of an interview or TV, radio, whatever it is, he asked for a $5,000 donation to a charity. I believe World Vision, it was one of the charities that he had mentioned.
Okay.
So he said, yeah, you typically for any podcast, you would need to have a lot of subscribers to be able to justify spending that kind of money to be able to, make the charitable contribution.
Okay, well, wait a sec. So if we just give him $5,000, does he do it no matter how many listeners we have?
Yeah, he would. If people
what
want
if
to
we
start
had a
chipping
million
in,
listeners? Would he do it for free?
No, he does it. Okay, technically, yes, he does it for free himself, but he asked for charitable donations so that any media requests or any work that he does outside of, outside of his business, that money goes to a charitable organization. So,
regardless of listeners?
Yeah.
But was he just asking about listeners just for the interest question?
No, because he wanted to know how big of a podcast we were to be able to find out if we could afford to pay that $5,000.
So if we were the Joe Rogan show, he'd probably ask for like $100,000 or something.
I don't know. That's a good question. If I said, "Hey, I'm Joe Rogan here," then it'd be, "Oh yeah, the price is $100,000."
So he was basically sounding you out to see what our potential affordability might be for his.
I don't know. That $5,000 could be a flat rate. For all I know.
Okay.
So in fairness, that $5,000 could be a flat rate no matter who you are.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah,
All
he
right.
was saying he's a very busy guy because he was saying even if he could do it, he wouldn't be available till like next spring. Like he's that booked up. Because he said he's very busy right now. I think he mentioned that he's working on a movie or something. Maybe they're doing a documentary on him. But yeah, it just underscored the notion that he is a very he's a famous guy. Like he is very much in demand.
From being a guy that attended a whole bunch of Raptors games.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Like it's like in the episode we talked about him, which was, maybe 2 episodes ago. We touched on the fact that he has reached that celebrity status. Yeah. Where he's a celebrity for being this Raptors Superfan. So he has all sorts of media requests. They're doing a documentary on him, all that kind of stuff. The fact that he's booked up until, May or June or whatever it was. And this is a guy that still likes to be in Toronto to attend the Raptors games, which is obviously his first love. And he's still got a business to run. As I said, he owns a couple of Hyundai dealerships, so he's still an active businessman that is he still has his day job. So
is he the Hyundai "I'm your guy"? Do you know?
I think so.
All right. Yeah. Well, we'll probably have a clip of that so people know what we're talking about. But all right.
Way,
so
it was cool to say, hey, I talked to Nav Badja. So there you go.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, we can't get him on the show.
Who says $5,000?
Maybe some of our listeners, if they want to, start sending in money and chip in $5 here and there. We'll do a.
Hey, with the amount of listeners we have, it's not going to take that long.
Well, hey, let's keep advertising, man. Let's get more listeners on board.
Okay,
and if we get like 100,000 listeners, then hey, we'll be famous and we can get Nav on, no problem at all.
Okay, I got to ask you, how long did this call last for that you had with him?
I don't know, about 3-4 minutes.
Oh, that's it? That was pretty fast.
Yeah, well, I was straight to the point. He's a busy guy. Like, he got to the point.
How was the tone of voice? Was it like, hey, listen, bud, here's how it works. How many listeners you got?
Well,
okay.
Yeah, kind of. Like, he wasn't around for chit-chatting because...
Was he a nice-sounding guy? Like, did he sound nice? Or was it like kind of down to bit like Kevin O'Leary, Dragon's Den kind of stuff?
He was businesslike. I think he has probably a lot of calls, and I guess he has to be quick and to the point and sort of weed him out pretty fast, because I'm sure he probably gets a ton of phone calls from people that he needs to kind of vet them quickly to figure out if I'm this amazed is something.
Here's the takeaways I have here. So $5,000 to get him on. Did he say how long that would get him, that we would have him for if we did that?
No, we didn't go into that much detail.
Like, do we get him for like half hour, or do we get him for?
I don't know.
The 5,000 piece we got to get.
Let's get the 5,000 first, and I can ask those questions.
Well, I'm impressed that he actually made a personal call to you. I think that's pretty cool.
I am too, because I was not expecting him to call me back personally. I was expecting like a business manager or some assistant or something like that to say, sorry, he's not available.
Yeah. So that's a big takeaway for me. The fact that he made a personal call to you.
Yeah.
You brushed with a bit of celebrity. And I guess
we're celebrities. We're minor luminaries, right?
We are celebrities.
Yeah.
And there's probably a definition. You should look up that while I'm talking. Definition of celebrity. We could start a GoFundMe page.
Yeah. Well, hey, we talked about that before. GoFundMe pages. People donate to GoFundMe pages for all sorts of weird and strange causes.
5,000. We should be able to do that.
Yeah. Well, hey, if
we each put in $2,300 a piece, that'll get us $4,600, and then we get the rest collected by our legions of fans.
Mm-hmm.
Or we'll do a matching.
If
why don't we do a matching?
If Adamson Barbecue can get all that kind of money for legal defense funds, then maybe we can do that.
No, we're nowhere near enough. We're not polarizing enough.
We need to have some hot topic here.
All right. Well, that's cool, man. Personal call from Nav Badja. Very impressive. Well done.
Thank you.
Okay, let's talk about my return to the office, because I know you were curious about that.
Yeah, I saw in your Facebook post there that you were happy to have made that transition from having a windowless basement to a nice view on the 54th floor at the First Canadian Place Tower, which is, for those who are unfamiliar with Toronto, First Canadian Place is one of the... Are you
revealing coordinates of my workplace?
Well, I'm not giving the actual municipal address.
You said you named the building and you named the floor.
Okay, well, anyway, you're in a tall office building, and you have a nice view of the city of Toronto, so there you go.
All right, I'm beeping that information out.
Okay, you don't want weird packages showing up in your office?
Weird people standing in the lobby saying, Clark, we want to have Badge on your show. Here's $100.
People asking for autographs. Yeah. There he is, the minor luminary.
So yes, I went back to the office. For our team has made a decision. We're going to come in once a week, every Wednesday. Oh shoot! I just told people when they can find me in this office that you located. Gave the details of its location.
Well, we'll have the Clark Luby fan club there.
Yeah, I'm sure with their signs.
Yeah.
Okay,
but yeah,
so
it must have been weird to be going back to work, because I guess we should point out the fact that you've been at your company now for about a year. And, obviously you joined at the height of the COVID lockdowns.
You going to name the company while you're revealing personal information?
No, I will not name the company. But yes, you have started your company, your nondescript company. And this is...
I started working at it. I didn't start a company.
Yeah. Yes. But yeah, this is your first time in about a year that you were going into the office to see your colleagues face to face. That must be... that in itself, like for anyone else, going back to the office after a year would be kind of a strange experience, but especially for you, because you've been at a company for a year, and the first time going in the office, it's like going back to school or something like that.
Well, sort of. Like I've never been in the office before. Like this was, I started working there and have never actually had a first day in the office, and so I had that 2 weeks ago, I guess now. So. Yeah, I can share quickly some of the things I found out or felt during this return. First of all, the building that we work in is one that my dad actually worked in years ago. So I had some personal history with this building. And in fact, I also worked in it because I worked in the mailroom of my dad's company, not my dad's, but the company he worked at, 30 years ago. So that was kind of interesting. Thinking, wow, here we are 30 years later, I'm back in the building. So I decided we had official meetings were taking place on a Thursday, and I decided I was going to go in on the Wednesday anyway to do a kind of a practice run so that it wasn't my first time on the day that we had our meetings. So I drove down, Traffic, not too bad getting down there. But I'll tell you, I was cursing so many times because I'm like, I hate driving. I hate people cutting me off, and stop and go.
And you should point out that, you chose to drive versus taking the commuter train.
Correct. Yeah. I did that because I wanted to know what the experience would be like driving, and I learned that it was not fun.
Yeah. And it's weird, even though we're still sort of technically in a lot of COVID, the numbers of people commuting into the office are still lower because of COVID, but, traffic has certainly returned.
There was traffic, especially when you go back. So on the way down wasn't terrible, but you still have a certain amount of cognitive energy that you have to deploy to drive somewhere. Like, you get on a train, you can close your eyes and it takes you where you need to go. In a car, you have to think and do and worry about what other people are doing, So it takes cognitive energy. So first thing, the parking lot I parked in was packed, and it was like I parked in the building, so I had to go down like 4 or 5 floors. Every single parking spot was taken. So it was a lot of people obviously had driven in. I didn't know what side of the building even to enter on. Remember, I phoned you and I said, "Hey, where's the entry point into the building?" Because I didn't know that. And you helped me out. You got on Google and told me. So when I got to the elevators, once I got parked and got up there, first thing that happened is when I tapped, it said access denied. I'm like, maybe because I've never used this card before that they've denied me access. So I went over to the security desk and they told me that I was actually trying to go to the wrong floor. And once that got corrected, I got the elevator banks that I use. You don't have to tap to go into them. So again, revealing things. If you want to stalk me, you don't have all that much security to go through.
That's why I'm writing this down. It'll be in the show notes.
No more than 4 people allowed on an elevator. And we are, as you mentioned, on a high floor in the building. So it takes probably like 2 minutes to get to your stop because there's so many floors. But only 4 people are allowed on the elevator at one time. They have little stickers on the ground like people have seen. I have to say one thing I really liked about being in the office was that I didn't have to set up a meeting to talk to someone. I could see them and say, "Hey, Jim, how's it going?" Rather than ping Jim through a Teams message or Skype and set something up. Or I like the ad hoc ability to just say, "Hey, let's talk about this account," versus having to like set up a special time.
Well, it's like you could, I guess, resurrect the whole like water cooler talk. So how was your weekend? That type of thing.
Yeah.
Which was something to be said for that, because you're right, like being like with my job, although I'm home based, the opportunity to be able to go into the office and just have chit chat and just to see people and have those informal conversations, and just doesn't even have to be anything work related. A lot of that has gone by the wayside. So it's nice to be able to do that once again.
Exactly. A couple other things. I took lunch down in, we call them food courts here. I don't know if the other people call it that in other parts of the world, but it's basically food options inside the building, on the main floor, not in our office itself. But went down to the food court, and I'll tell you one thing that totally like blew my mind was how expensive food is in the building, and how much I had forgotten about the daily. I don't know if you take your own lunch. Do you take your lunch to work, or you don't? Well, that's a whole other topic. Yeah. But some people take their lunches in to work. Some people eat out. So I had not packed a lunch, and I decided to go out for lunch, and I went to Pumpernickel's. It's Pumpernickel's, like sandwiches and salads.
The schnitzel sandwiches are a specialty. Did you have one?
Oh yeah, those were. No, I decided to have a salad and be healthy. So get this: the salad is $9.95 plus $4.95 if you want a protein of some type. So like if you want to add roast chicken or salmon or egg or something that's like a protein. So that's $9.95 plus $4.95. You're now into like $15 territory plus tax. This salad was over $16.
You add a drink to that, $20 easily.
Well, I didn't add a drink to it.
Food court lunch.
Well, yeah, $20 easily. And it just made me realize this is not sustainable. I can't go down and spend $16 a day on, and it was a healthy food option too.
Yeah.
So that stuck out to me, is that this is maybe you go numb to that after some period of time. It's hard to go numb to $16. I look at a typical food court, or if you're around $10, 12 max. But anyway, I that was just big time shock when I saw that.
Yeah. I remember when, both of us have been sort of in our respective industry now for about 20 years. Remember, the first time, commuting downtown, going to the food courts, you could still get the quote unquote $5 lunch. Yeah, right. Yeah. Those days are long gone. But yeah.
There's inflation now. So let's say now it's the $10 lunch or the $8 lunch. Because $5 was cheap back then. That was like
true.
20 years ago. $5 was pretty cheap for a lunch.
But your point about the cost of food, and this is a topic in itself, we can maybe, talk about this in a future episode. But yeah, the cost of food has gone up a lot, like in grocery stores everywhere.
Restaurants,
like inflation has gone up. So yeah, we can talk about that in some other episode. But yeah, so the other thing for you to be back in the office.
It was, and I'd say the other thing that was great was that I got to meet people face to face that I've only seen on tiny little screens, right? Like little boxes in Zoom or Microsoft Teams or whatever. So it was nice to see some people. There were a few where I had to actually try to figure out who it was, because in the common areas, you have to wear a mask in the office. So if you go up to get a drink or go to the washroom, you have to wear a mask if you leave your desk and go around. So you would run into people and you'd be like, I hear the voice. I think I know who it is. It's muffled because of the mask. I can't tell. And then it's like, oh, Allison, so nice to see you.
So when you talk to people in your company, though, I guess, is it live meetings where you're seeing them face to face over like a Zoom or something? Or is it sort of like a profile picture that shows up?
Depends. Some people, a lot of people don't put up their video. They'll just have their profile picture or whatever.
It's interesting if you meet people for the first time and say, hey, you don't look anything like your profile picture.
Well, I had that happen with somebody who I did meet face to face, and I didn't recognize them. I ran up to this, I walked up to this guy and I said, oh, hi, I'm Clark. And he said, hey, it's Don. And realized that I said, Don, oh my God, in my mind, I'm thinking, you look much thinner and more fit than I expected you to look. Which was a good thing, I guess, than the other way around.
It's a good thing. Yeah. If you say, whoa, buddy, what happened to you?
Camera does
add conversation.
Camera does add the pounds. But I did find that like, some people are, oh, wow, I had no idea you were that tall, or, oh, I thought you were taller. Like all these weird things that come up now when we start meeting people face to face.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Hold on a sec. I got to tell my kids to be quiet here. Hot mic. Yeah. Guys, I hear you.
Kelly, can you close the door to my office, please?
We'll keep that in. All right. So, yes, a successful visit. I took the train, by the way, the next day.
Okay.
Much easier, much better. So I had a business lunch on that day, and it was just great seeing people face to face. And so, yeah, I had a good time in the office, and I'm actually thinking I might bump it up to 2 regular days a week, maybe even a third. Okay, so we have a new idea. We're going to do a rapid fire section. So we've got a few topics that we cobbled together, and we're going to do rapid fire. I'm actually going to set a timer, and it's for 2 minutes. And for each of these topics, some might be challenging for us want to talk for more than 2 minutes. Others are kind of quick. I've got about 7 or 8 things here. So I'm going to just let everybody hear what the sound is when the timer goes. It's a old-fashioned, like a boxing bell. Okay. So when that sound goes off, we get to just finish our last sentence or two, but we have to move on to the next thing. So you understand how it works?
Yeah, let's kick it off.
2 minutes. All right.
Okay.
A few of these topics, some are mine that I came up with, some are yours. And let's identify that when we do it. I'll say whose idea it is. So, okay. So let me make sure I got this timer thing working right. All right. So I'll hit it as soon as I finish announcing the topic. And we each have, it's a combined 2 minutes, but that doesn't, you talk for 2, I talk for 2. The round has 2 minutes, right? Okay. This is your topic. Storage facilities. Timer starting now. Storage facilities.
Okay, so storage facilities, certainly in my area, in where I live in Whitby, there's so many of these storage facilities that are being built, and these are large buildings as well. Mm-hmm. And it just got me thinking that obviously there's a huge boom going on because, as I said, most commercial properties that you see going up are probably these storage facilities, and it got me to thinking. Like, you mean
why? Construction of buildings or storage facilities?
Well, the construction of the storage facilities. So obviously there's a massive demand for these things. Mm-hmm. So I realized that part of the demand is probably because a lot of people are maybe downsizing or moving into condos, whatever. Mm-hmm. There's not a lot of condos where I live, but nevertheless, it got me to thinking, why suddenly this demand for storage facilities? And I don't, that's just speculation as to what the reason for that is, but it begs the question here, why not throw your shit out? Like, instead of paying money, and I know these places aren't cheap to have these storage facilities.
They can be like a couple $100 a month or more, depending on how big they are. Yeah.
Exactly. Like, these are pretty fancy facilities.
So these are climate-controlled facilities. People should be concentrating on throwing their stuff out, purging. Because if you're building these, rather than spending all this money on these massive, to pay for these storage facilities. Yeah. I agree. I think there's a lot of junk out there, and people are really like into having possessions and not getting rid of them. And they're buying real estate to house the shit. And exactly. I agree. I heard a great tip from a person I used to work with. He said, if you're going to have a storage facility, get it near a dump because it's the next place everything's going.
What's the expression? If you haven't looked at it in like a year or 5 years, it probably needs to go to the dump. Yeah.
Oh, there's our timer.
Right on 2 minutes. Yeah, we're getting good at this.
We're pros.
Next one. Let's fire them up here.
All right. Next one is surprise parties. Like them, hate them. Have you ever thrown one for somebody? What's your overall opinion on surprise parties?
You're asking me? I personally don't like them. I have held surprise parties for people, and that actually is kind of fun.
It's fun. You don't like them, but it's fun to hold them for other people.
I know it's a weird response. I don't like them myself, but I
wouldn't do this to myself, but I do it to others.
Because, okay, for example, my wife, she does like surprise parties. And I have
likes to give them or get them?
Likes to get them. So yes.
Okay.
Holding surprise parties is kind of cool if you're the organizer. But for me, I'm kind of a guy that likes to plan. I don't know. I like to know what's going on. I don't know. I'm not really big into surprises. I like to have a party, sure, but I like to know about it.
I think a lot of people. Well, I think a lot of people don't like surprises and that like to plan, like you just described. And I think that more often than not, and this is just my total opinion here, more often than not, surprise parties are not a welcomed thing by the recipient.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, especially if you're really caught off guard, or if you're wearing the wrong thing, or you don't have control over the guest list. It's like, oh, hey, everyone.
Who are all these wackos in my living room that just jumped out from behind a couch? Remember that?
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of freaky when you think about it. Like, I know my dad held a surprise party for my mother once for her 40th, I think it was. And he took her out to a restaurant, and then everybody came back to the house and was in the house. And my mother came home and I think did her darndest to pretend to be happy and excited and surprised. But I knowing my mother, not something that she would have appreciated.
Yeah. So she didn't. Yeah, I guess great example where, if you're sort of caught off guard and you're not, if you have like 20, 30 people in your house, you got to be in the mood to be able to entertain those people. You got to build it up.
Exactly. Well, there's our timer. Okay.
Next. What's next?
Next topic is, I don't know really what this is about. It's your topic. You find one glove or a shoe on the street.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, my question on this one is why does this happen? Because have you ever thought about, okay, when you drive along the road and you see one shoe in the middle of the road, like, how does it get there? Like, why? Why is there just one shoe, and where's the other shoe? And how do you lose a shoe on the road? And if you're going to lose a shoe, why would you have it on the road? I don't get it. This is so bizarre to me.
All right.
And my wife and I, we talk about this all the time, where it's like you see one shoe on a road, a shoe hanging over like a hydro pole or something like that.
That's a valid... Okay, well, wait a sec. The hydro pole one, there's some kind of lore to that, or some type of... But apparently they said gang activity in the area if you see like a pair of laced up shoes strung over a telephone wire.
I've heard that. Yeah, we'd have to research that a little bit more. Like
I think they've dispelled that myth, but
like there's also the one glove concept, and I can sort of see where the glove comes from because it can fall out of someone's pocket, so I can understand the glove, but still, you still see gloves in weird places, like in a bathroom or just
Yeah, but they left it behind.
Yeah, I guess so. The glove is not as weird as the one shoe.
I like the one
like the one sock. Like, why just one sock?
Okay, let's think about this. Remember my seek first to understand, then to be understood? Mm-hmm. Remember that? What is the reason, possibly, that one shoe could be in the middle of a street? Let's use that philosophy for a second.
That's the problem. I can't think of a reason. Why would there be one shoe? Trust me, I've given a lot of thought to this, believe it or not. And I have no idea why there would be one shoe in the middle of the road.
I have a theory.
Okay, let's hear it.
A bunch of teenagers driving along. One steals one guy's shoe, throws it out the window as a joke.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of them, though. It's way too common of occurrence. So, hey, last thoughts on this. If any of our listeners have any theories or any information as to why there'd be one shoe on the street, let us know. I'd really like to hear that.
Next topic, Halloween candy. How much is too much? We just celebrated Halloween here, and I'll start the timer. This was my topic, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Yeah. Okay. So Halloween candy. I researched actually a little bit of information on Halloween, and because I thought I was a bit embarrassed about Halloween this year. So in Canada and some other countries, they have trick or treating, which is kids go door to door and they collect candy, and so everybody buys candy so they can have it for that event. I was ripping into our candy in like mid-September, mid-October, I should say. And I started wondering, how much of this could I eat before I actually had some type of a health reaction, like a heart attack or a diabetic shock or something. So I looked it up, and they say that the human body can take that 262 pieces of fun-sized Halloween candy, or 1,627 pieces of candy corn is the magic number of what will send you over the line. It would mean you need to be hospitalized. They call it a median lethal dose.
I never knew about that.
And this is research from the American Chemical Society.
So basically those box of favorites, like it's a box of 100, you'd have to polish off 2 straight boxes, 2.5 of those boxes. That's a lot of candy.
Yeah, so there's usually about 100 pieces in each box. So more than 2 boxes. So if you sat down on your couch with 2 boxes of Halloween candy and ate them all at a 200, I don't know how they come up with 262 pieces exactly. There actually is a way to calculate. They call it your LD50, which is called the median lethal dose of sugar or sucrose, which is the quantity of substance that's lethal for 50% of the subjects in a test group. I'll post the link to this, but they figured average is about 262 pieces.
Well, I've been pacing them out because my son came home with a pretty large bag. And well, you've got 2 kids, so you've got double the amount of candy. But, if you pace it out, then it's good for you, right?
All right.
In other words, don't be binging on that Halloween candy. You got to pace it out till Christmas time.
I have to cut off everything you just said because you went past the timer.
No, this is all important stuff.
Okay, we got 2 more to go. Clark's, I was going to say let's do one of yours, but I guess the last 2 are kind of mine. Clark's Solomon shoe good news story. I wanted to share with everyone a very good news product story. We tend to just talk about negative ones. I had a pair of Solomon shoes I was using to run in the wintertime with. They're like outdoor running shoes meant for like nature running and stuff, like trail running. And it developed on the side of them. One shoe had a slight hole that was starting on it. I was like, I've only had these for about 4 months now. This is kind of ridiculous. So I contacted Solomon. Well, first I called Amazon because Amazon is where I bought them. Amazon.
Sorry, I was going to say, did you fight the urge of throwing the defective shoe in the middle of the road?
There you go. Maybe that's it, Paul. Yeah. Maybe that's it. So I called Amazon first. They said if it's been purchased more than 30 days ago, you have to go to the manufacturer. I'm like, oh, great. So I contacted Solomon. Right away, customer service told me what I needed to do. They said, take a picture of the soles of the shoe, the part of the shoe where it's damaged, the hole as I described, and send it to us along with the original bill of sale. And so I did. And it came back within 48 hours. I had a coupon code for $150 for Solomon shoes. I only paid $120 for them. So I was very impressed with that they didn't just give me the amount of the purchase price. They actually gave me $150 toward the shoe. So I had to kick in a little extra to get actually an even nicer pair. But I was really impressed with how fast they turned it around.
Well, and that's great that you're sharing like the good news story, because you're right. We do, media in general tends to focus on like the negative aspects and the customer complaints. So yeah, that's good to know that there is, manufacturers out there that value their customers. And yeah, I'm glad to hear that you got resolution of that, like not only a quick response, but something that sort of exceeded your expectations.
All right. And get this bell off. Our final rapid fire it's a LinkedIn thing again, which I talked about that in the previous episode with Teresa. But this specifically is those posts you see where somebody, okay, I'll start the timer after I finish. This is about when you see those posts, like it'll be a picture of an old man in a chair with a sign saying something like, I was in the World War II bomber, 49th Bomber Battalion, whatever. I could really use 100,000 likes. Now, this was posted on Memorial Day, or Remembrance Day, so it was sort of fitting the theme. But the idea was this old man in a chair. I think it says, I'm 91 and I was in the war. I would like 100,000 likes, please. This was on LinkedIn.
And you saw this a lot, LinkedIn and a lot on Facebook as well, where, I think especially
I'm starting the timer.
Okay. Especially during COVID, when a lot of seniors were kind of, held, I guess sort of captive in their long-term care facilities or nursing homes, whatever. But yeah, you would see like photos of, I'm turning 100. Can I get 100 birthday cards or something like that? It's been around for a while.
Okay, so my theory on this is that 80% of the people that you see that, like when it's an old person, like who's like 91 or turning 100, have no idea what's going on, in the sense that they've not written this sign, posted it on LinkedIn. This is the fabrication of some niece or grandchild who has a little more in tune with social media, has said, here's a way for me to get a popular post out on LinkedIn by taking my 92-year-old grandfather, sitting him in a chair, putting a sign in his hands and saying, Grandpa, hold this sign up. I want to take a picture. It's for a class assignment. And next thing you know, he's on LinkedIn with 86,000 likes.
Yeah. Do
you think so?
Yeah.
Do you think that theory is right?
Yeah, I think so, because it makes you wonder, like, the motivations behind it. Who's in the background? As you said, who wrote that sign and who said, yeah, let's use old, grandpa here, and let's see if we can get 100 birthday cards.
I don't want to sit in this chair. I just want to lie down.
Yeah. Yeah, like you wonder...
What's the sign say?
Is it more... Yeah. All right, enough there, grandpa. It's... Yeah, you wonder, is it more for the people that are trying to organize it? Is this supposed to be like a... some kind of a project, are the intentions genuine? Probably
not.
Lots of questions have to be asked on this. I think I'd like to explore this a little bit more because
I want to write on the back of the sign, 96 kills, 12 POWs tortured, $5 billion in property destruction, all the things that happened as a result of this man's participation in the war. Give him 100,000 likes. Okay, well, that concludes the rapid fire.
Yeah, your bell is going a bit crazy there.
I know, but I created
the round.
You're really
getting the cane off the stage there.
I had to get that in there. They dragged me out.
Yeah, they definitely dragged you out on that one.
This episode is brought to you by Pace Painting. Pace Painting, serving all your painting needs, whether commercial or residential. Reach Pace Painting at paintwithpace@gmail.com or via their Facebook page, Pace Painting Inc. Or call Peter at 289-356-7744. Paint with Pace. What we're watching. Paul, we're almost at an hour. We got to wrap this up, but we want to finish up with a quick what we're watching. Right now, I am watching the new newish Ricky Gervais show called Afterlife. It's on Netflix. Man, Ricky Gervais, he's not everybody's cup of tea, but he is so talented as a writer and a director. And this show, Afterlife, is a unbelievable display of his acting abilities. He is amazing. The range of emotions he has to portray between sadness and, his usual, banter, humorous stuff. But in fact, I guess in this one, he doesn't have a huge range. What I'm seeing more in this than other things is his ability to show sadness and show feelings and click. It's hard to describe it. The quick premise of it is he's a man whose wife just died from cancer, and he's tries to commit suicide and fails, or just stops at the last second. And as he said in the Oscar or the Golden Globes, he said, "I'm not spoiling anything for you because there's a season 2. He didn't really commit suicide." So. Anyway, it's dark, it's black comedy. I mean, that's the definition of this type of show, black comedy. It's just awesome. And I recommend it. Netflix, there's 3 seasons. There's a 3rd season coming soon.
Okay. Yeah, good to know. Yeah, if it's on Netflix, definitely it's easy to check that one out.
Mm-hmm. All right, what do you got? Anything listening, watching, reading?
Yeah, a new show that I've just started to get into is Succession.
Why did you say it that way?
Succession?
Were you swallow? Did your breath gave out on you?
No.
So what's the show?
Succession.
Okay, that's better.
All right. Anyway, so yeah, I've just started to get into it. I know that, believe they just started a season 3. So it's been out for a little while, so I'm a little late to the game. But I'm, as I said, my wife and I, we just started it. So we're about maybe 4 or 5 episodes in and really liking it so far. It's all about, so Brian Cox is the lead actor, and he is, I guess like a media mogul. So like a Rupert Murdoch type of person that owns like this big media conglomerate. And it's a lot about the, I guess the family dynamics, very sort of a dysfunctional family, and everyone's kind of vying over, who's going to sort of, I guess, be the heir apparent to the company. And it's a lot more to it than that. And obviously I'm just started to scratch the surface here. Mm-hmm. But it's lured me in so far because very interesting, complex, dynamic characters that you don't necessarily like, but you're interested in them. Like you want to come back and see what they're all about. Mm-hmm. So it's not necessarily like a feel good show where it's like you like all the characters on the show. there are probably, as we move along, I'm sure there'll be some people that we don't like. But I think that adds to the, as I said, the complexity of the show. So I'm really enjoying it so far. We're definitely going to keep plugging through it and make all our way to the season 3 and see where this goes, because I'm very interested so far.
So this is also a black comedy drama.
I wouldn't say it's a comedy, but
it's a satirical black comedy drama television series. So it's probably what a black comedy is.
Well, explain. Like define black comedy.
Yes, it's not a comedy with black people in it. Black comedy is like dark humor, morbid humor, or they call it gallows humor. So it makes light of subject matter that's considered like taboo or serious and painful to discuss, which is very similar to Afterlife. So is it like that? It's got these dark topics, but they make light of it?
I guess you could apply that to it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And I see so Brian Cox is a Scottish guy. Yeah. Is he Scottish in the show, or does he have an American accent?
It's interesting. They mentioned that he originally came from Scotland. So they do actually touch on that he is Scottish, but in the show he is obviously American, and he does have an American accent. But yeah, they do, that is addressed in the show.
It's interesting. This the summary of what it is about reminds very much of the Rogers Media story going on here in Canada. That's
the other thing too, is that it really is a fascinating story when you think about it. It probably happens.
Fight for the control of the family company. It happens
a lot more than you probably think it does within the corporate world, and we're seeing that here, with Rogers Communications, which is a large media company here in Canada. There's been a lot of news going on recently about some of the infighting that's been going on within the family that are very much behind the scenes within the ownership of the overall company. So, yeah, I guess when there's not only millions but billions of dollars at stake, it makes people do weird things. It makes families go against each other.
Absolutely.
So yeah, money makes people do interesting stuff. That's for sure. And I should also point out, we mentioned before, one of my favorite shows, Yellowstone, is back. Season 4 just came out. So you got to get caught up on that.
I know. I'm only into season 2.
Yeah.
But it's a great show. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I like some of the shows that have been mentioned. Many of them I've enjoyed, and some of them I haven't watched. Superstore, I've heard some good things about. I still haven't seen that.
Superstore. Yeah, Superstore is a great show.
I know you mentioned that one a while back. I said I heard it grows on you, Superstore. You got to watch a few episodes.
Yeah. It has to grow a little bit, but it's a good show. I highly recommend it.
Well, we got less than a minute in order to keep this episode under an hour. Anything else you want to share before we sign off? I know what I want to share. You can't share it because I need the time. So sorry, I'm taking the mic over again. We never remember to tell people about how to get a hold of us. We talked about this.net is our website. And if you want to email us, you can email us at wetalkedabouttthis99@gmail.com. Please send feedback, questions. We do want to do a listener mail type segment at some point. So send us your subject or topic ideas, your comments. You don't like one of us, you really like one of us, let us know. We really want to hear about that. We know those listeners are out there. Maybe there aren't a million of them like, Joe Rogan has, but yeah. So that's it. We're going to do this professionally and keep this under an hour, Paul. So you have 4 seconds to finish.
Yeah, just to 4 seconds. Ding, ding, ding. Just to reiterate what you said there, that I actually have got a few texts from some of my friends who are listeners, and
okay,
I'm going to forward this over to you. But yeah, it's great to get some different ideas on. Click that bell, on topics, because there's a lot of stuff that may not even occur to us.
Yeah. I mean, I'm the ideas man generally in the show.
Hey, I give some really good ideas. Give me some credit then.
You come up with some ideas, yeah.
Yes, no. It's a partnership, okay? We'd love to use it.
I'll put the contact info in the show notes too so people can see it. But yes, reach out to us. Tell us what you want us to talk about. Suggest something. Oh, and maybe if you're even good enough, you can be on the show.
That's right, yes.
Just an easy audition. All right, we got to go.